Hello, this is wmpyr. For today's video, I want to talk about how realistic was Bruce Lee's fight scenes in his movies, all right? And the idea of this discussion came from Cosmo Shidan, who has been following me since the Dumont days, so thank you, bro. Thank you for your support. Okay, so that's the discussion. This is just my opinion, so, don't take it too seriously or anything like that. Basically, the way I see it is that we need to kind of, for those people who don't know too much about Bruce Lee, let's talk about his background, okay? This guy was a real-life martial artist. He was an excellent practitioner, and I say a high-level practitioner because of the people that he was affiliated with. All the people that he trained with and met with and stuff like that, these are world-class. At the time, they were the top creme de la creme of the martial artists at the time, all right? So those were his friends and buddies, and he exchanged ideas and stuff like that, cross-trained with those people. That puts him in a very high caliber. And then on top of that, he was a pioneer in the martial arts world. What he was doing, he was creating a system, rather than a style. He was creating a system of how to train in martial arts. He was trying to go beyond style, beyond culture, beyond tradition, and, let's just examine what fighting is about, what combat is about. And he put philosophy in there and just lots of inspiring things that has inspired people all over the world. So not only was he a successful martial arts film star, but also at the same time, like I said, the real deal, as far as martial arts goes. As far as his actual fighting experience, it's very limited. So we don't know a whole lot about that. So to say like Bruce Lee would kick this guy's butt or whatever, it's honestly, you're talking out of your, you don't know, you know what I mean? But doesn't change the fact that he was a high-level martial arts practitioner, and he was also a pioneer in the martial arts world, okay? And so those are facts for sure, okay? Now, on top of that, he was acting at a very early age, and also the guy was a champion dancer. Okay, so in my opinion, that just tells you that there's a recipe right there that tells you that this guy, he's one of those smart people that understood the difference between real fighting, at least from a martial arts self-defense point of view, and also acting, putting on a show. Like, he knew the difference between the two. So in my opinion, as for movie-wise, let's look at The Big Boss, okay? When he did The Big Boss, I believe in that film, the fighting was not meant to be realistic, but he was trying to make it very dynamic, okay? So you have to understand that up until this time, martial arts film came from, like, basically the historical TV shows and the historical movies made at the time over there in the Chinese culture, okay? And you have to understand that, I don't know for certain with the Chinese culture, but I'm assuming it's the same with the Japanese culture. In the Japanese culture, my culture, I can tell you that when you think of ninjas, samurais, and katana swords and everything, that it's like super exciting. Well, that's all historical stuff. So it's like, it's so part of the culture, that it's actually boring, if that makes any sense, all right? Sure, there's anime and stuff, and there's action-packed movies and stuff now today, but, also a lot of it, like when I was living over there, during the daytime soap opera time, they would show that stuff. Over here in the U.S., the daytime soap opera stuff bored me out of my mind, especially when I was in junior high. Could not care less. Even now, I'm sorry, I don't care about that stuff. That's like for moms to watch, So in Japan, it's the same thing. Over there, the daytime soap operas, not meant for people the junior high school at that time. You were supposed to be in school. The stuff that I did watch, it's historical times. So there were samurais, ninjas, and katana swords, and sword fights, and all that in those shows, but that wasn't the focus. And when time came to fight, when a samurai had to fight and stuff, just because it's part of the story, the choreography wasn't emphasized. It was boring. It was super stylized. It was predictable. It was always done the same, always looks the same, you know, because it's not the main focus. Same with the costumes. The costumes aren't like super high budget, awesome looking costumes. They're just very plain, you know, even though it's actual you know, based off of the historical stuff that they wore, you know. It's not meant to be to where it takes your eye. You know, the main focus is on the story and the drama. You know, that's what that is. You know, the fact that it's a historical Japan with samurais, ninjas, and katana swords and all that is not the main focus. So the martial arts movies at the time were based off of those. So maybe the choreography was done a little bit by, like, they would call in a specialist and be like, iron palm, what does the stance look like? And the guy would, you know, show and teach that. And so they maybe show that for a little bit. So it's still very, very small aspect of a martial arts film at the time. And the choreography, once again, it's like super stylized, you know, very dance-like, you know. And then Bruce Lee comes in and just, because I believe he understood the Chinese culture, the tradition, and the martial arts, the Chinese martial arts, and then, but he also grew up in America where he understood Hollywood action films. So he brought the best of two worlds and put them together, and now you had a martial arts film with dynamic action scenes, which was never really seen before up until that time. Maybe he wasn't the first to do it, but for sure he was one of the pioneers he was on the cutting edge to do that stuff. So in The Big Boss, it was just like, wow, you know, if all you had seen up until that time were the super stylized choreography, mundane stuff, you know, if that's all that you were used to, which everyone was at the time, and then all of a sudden here is a martial arts film, a Chinese martial arts film that's shot like a Hollywood action film style, you know. So he was cutting edge in The Big Boss. His second film, The Chinese Connection, I believe now he took that dynamic action to the next level. Now you get to see Bruce Lee the way we kind of remember him, with the whoa, you know, that kind of stuff. In The Big Boss, I don't think you really saw that at all, really. I don't think he did that. But in this second one, you know, now he has the nunchucks, you know, now it's very stylized. The action is a lot more dramatical. The actual martial arts fight sequences are dramatical, where, you know, he does, like, you know, this kind of arm move, slow motion moving thing, and then after that he just like blocks everything like nothing, you know, when he was fighting against I believe it was that Russian guy. You know, just stuff like that. He took the drama to the next level. So both of those films, to me, they were not about being realistic, but it was like about how much can Bruce Lee make this, you know, dynamic action, you know, like action like you've never seen before. Let's put drama into the fight scenes. And I believe he succeeded tremendously in both of those. And then the third film, Way of the Dragon, by this time, I think he was trying something that was cutting edge, all right? Like he was now evolving. He was just starting to evolve. Now because now he's the director and stuff. So one of the things that I really like about the Way of the Dragon was he brought the throwing darts, which is totally not realistic, but that was an homage to his Kato fans, you know, and I think that's very cool of him to do that, you know, as an homage to his earlier work, okay? And then from there, like, still to this day, I think the fight scene that he had against Bob Wall in that film is like one of the most realistic. I think it's the most realistic fight scene that he has ever done. All right, that fight sequence is awesome to me. The one where at the end he gets the guy down in a double leg takedown and then punches him in the groin and it ends it right there. I think that is awesome. All right, that whole fight sequence from beginning to end, I think, is the most realistic one that he's done. But then the one after that against what's his name, Wong Ing-sink. I'm sorry if I butchered the name, but against that guy. Now he went back to the drama. So he was still, you know, he didn't kind of figure, I don't want to say he hadn't figured it out yet, but he was experimenting. So that fight scene is very dramatical. Actually, the way it's filmed, and you hear like a tick tick, like that kind of sound, that is an homage to Japanese two samurais doing a duel, basically. See who can draw the sword faster and who can kill each other faster. That's how they did it. They both stand against, towards each other, almost like a gunfight, right? And then bam, it just happens that Bruce Lee's kick was faster, and he takes him out basically from there. So that was done now in a more drama style rather than more on the realistic side. It's like, why was he faster? Well, it's because it's Bruce Lee. There's not really much explanation other than that. So that was there. And then the Chuck Norris fight. I think for the one, this is another impressive thing that he did. Even though overall the fight I don't think was as smooth and as good as the Bob Wall fight, even though this was the main last fight. In this fight, once again, he was trying to do something cutting edge, which I believe, which was he was trying to show strategy to the viewer, to the audience. So you're watching it, and then you go, oh, I know why he won. I can understand why he won. Instead of, why did he win? Because he's the main character, which even to this day, 99% of films today, the fight scenes bore me. And when I watch the fight scenes, really, I don't see strategy at all. Why did he win? It's because he is the main character, really. He's coming back from a comeback that in real life, there's no way he would be able to survive and stuff like that. Well, in this film, you see Bruce Lee, like, he's kind of getting dominated by Chuck Norris, and then he starts, jumping around, and you hear the music and everything. So he started changing his rhythm, and he was also more relaxed, and that changed the whole outcome. That was the strategy right there, And by the time Chuck tried to do it, imitate it was too late, So you can understand that as the viewer. And I believe he was heading in that direction. Of course, the next film he started was on the Game of Death, and he really started to put a lot of that in there, the strategy in the fight scenes. And then he had to stop that short and go into Enter the Dragon. And when he did Enter the Dragon, he was putting in like martial arts philosophy into the film as well. And I think that kind of lets you know where the direction that he was heading. So maybe the Big Boss and Chinese Connection, these were lots of drama, all right? So the fight scenes were not realistic to me, all right? Way of the Dragon and Game of Death, Enter the Dragon, he's heading towards, I want to put in martial arts philosophy, want to put in martial arts strategy so the viewer can understand. So he was trying to teach, and I believe he actually said in an interview, or it's, people say that he wanted to actually teach through martial arts. So I think he even closed down his schools and said, I'm going to start teaching people through my films, So I think that's the direction he was heading towards. So yeah, the fight scenes I think were getting more and more realistic, and he was trying to, and not just about combat. I think he was also becoming more open-minded and more closer to like, I don't want to use this word because I don't want it to get misinterpreted, but enlightened, to where you see a bigger picture other than just for fighting. So I think he was heading in that direction. Sadly, he passed away, and then, when he passed away, the cutting edge stuff that he was working on, the stuff that he was evolving, like putting in all this philosophy and this realistic martial arts and stuff, strategy, people didn't understand that. So they just looked at his work and they saw the dynamic action part, which was the part that he already completed, the part where he mastered, and he was moving away from that. And they focused on that, on the dynamic action. So for a long time, that's all we got was cheap imitation and dynamic action. And then from there, it became even more dramatical. And we saw like rope stuff, which was very disappointing for me. But at the same time, we also had some very talented people like Jackie Chan who just took it in a completely different direction where, he was like, I'm not even going to try to be the next Bruce Lee. I'm going to focus on comedy and stunts and also put in martial arts, stuff like that. So anyway, if he was alive today, I think it would have changed the whole, we may not have seen the rope stuff as much. That kind of stuff would have been a lot smaller. But then again, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon won an award and stuff like that. So maybe, I don't know. I don't know if it was necessarily bad that the rope stuff, it's not my preference, but it was bad that the the rope stuff became popular, and then from there it opened more the Chinese brand. So future people like Jet Li and stuff like that could come in here, which I'm still not I'm sorry folks, I'm still not a fan of. I kind of feel like they went the opposite way for Bruce Lee. So that's my thinking, you know. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and you know, feel free to join in on the discussion. Thank you for watching, and take care.